I don't, we do need. I'm gonna put together like a supercut of your pronunciations.
Yeah,
and different things.
That's great.
Like this is gonna be your crowning achievement.
Why don't you supercut you just being silent and throwing me to the freaking dogs?
Nobody wants to hear that. Actually, I could do that. It's just every time. So Ryan, how do you pronounce this?
How do you pronounce that again?
Danny Villanova. That's what we're going with.
Danny Villeneuve.
Danny Villanova. Hello. This is Between the Streams. This is our weekly show where we talk about movies and television, everything that's happening in the world of entertainment, good fun stuff that we're going to be talking about today. And we've got so many different things to get to. We've got Stranger Things news. We have Curb Your Enthusiasm news, which I'm excited to get to talk about.
Yeah.
Star Wars things, monster movies, all kinds of stuff coming up, and a weekend box office. I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And one thing we really do always enjoy is when we get some comments in the side. So if you're watching via YouTube, go ahead and comment along. Let us know what you think. If you agree, disagree with what we're saying, if we're pronouncing things wrong, call us out on it. I do want to say just a shout out to a couple of listeners that I met the other day. I believe it was Jeff and Wayne, and Jeff actually complained that on every episode I never finished my beer.
It's been a problem. All of us have been talking about
I realize it. Apparently, it's driving him nuts. He watches it just get warm throughout the show.
It just makes us all feel like alcoholics.
Jeff, for you, if you're listening via podcast or watching, I am going to drink this entire beer.
You won't be able to tell because it's in the can, but
it is.
I'll feel it and
you'll
make sure.
verify.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we'll get through that today.
Yep.
Let's talk about some movies.
All right. Well, here we are. Yeah. Here we are. Alternate timeline. We're now in the alternate timeline.
We're now in.
But movies are still good.
Yeah, movies are still good.
Yeah, and it's a great distraction. That's why you want to tune in to Between the Streams even more.
Yes. We've crossed over in fringe.
We can be into the sweet apathy of movies.
Well, let's talk about the weekend box office. I think a lot of people are going to want to get out to see a movie this weekend.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And right off the bat, we have one I'm really excited about. It is Arrival.
Yep.
And we've been seeing the trailers for this for a long time. Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, essentially about a bunch of alien ships show up on Earth.
Yeah.
And they've opened it up. Like basically on the trailer, from what I can understand, Amy Adams is some kind of a mathematician who's trying to figure out a universal language to communicate. No, you're telling me no. Okay.
Well, no. So she's a translator, but I think that the basic premise is that science always. Part of the premise is that science always figured that math would be a universal language.
Yeah.
And so translators would use that if we ever were to encounter alien.
Okay.
And if you look at a lot of sci-fi movies, whether it's true or not, they always talk about this report that they have in case we actually did, like the government truly did put together a report in case we actually did have a first encounter.
Nice.
And part of that would be trying to use mathematics to communicate. Well, apparently in this movie that doesn't work. And a lot of
spoilers.
Yeah, and some of this is working through how to communicate to tell the aliens, that we want diplomacy, that we don't want,
Okay.
So what we've come to understand, I haven't seen the movie yet, but our own Rick Marshall went and saw it last night, and he said, there's a lot more to it than what you're seeing as far as just an alien invasion film. It's being heralded as one of the best cerebral sci-fi films that have come out in a long time.
Wow.
Toronto Sun's reviewer says, tight little gem of a film. Another guy from the Minneapolis Star Tribune says the film is intricately handsome and rarely showy, flawlessly made and earnest-minded. So, I mean, those are ambiguous ideas, but what you're going to get here is a different kind of sci-fi movie, a different kind of alien invasion movie, and something that I think, from what we're understanding, is going to be just deep in layers about humanity itself. It's going to be a really interesting film, and Rick Marshall had nothing but good things to say about it. So it looks really cool.
I am really, really excited about it. I mean, I've talked about how, this new theme of space and alien movies is right up my alley. There's a bunch of them that are going to be coming out. This one kind of leading the edge of several that are coming out over the next several months.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to go check this out.
Yeah, and it's another one from Denis Villeneuve who did Sicario.
What was the name again?
Yeah. But what's interesting about his movies, I always find, is when you ask people about them, there's a premise that you feel like you have an idea about the movie, but it seems like nobody can really tell you why it's so good. They're just like when you ask people about Sicario, all they seem to say is just like, you just got to go see it. It's just so good. It's just like he has a way of striking a tone, as Rick was talking about in his review. He has a way of sort of striking a tone that is just sort of unique and original and something that's hard to describe until you see it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's one of the most exciting filmmakers around right now, I think. He's going to be doing the new Blade Runner, and that is a huge...
That's a big
That's
franchise.
a lot of work,
Yeah.
to put on your shoulders. But I can't think of somebody I'd rather have, in that position right now, just reading about his stuff and having seen some of his movies. So anyway, Arrival is probably going to be one of the best sci-fi movies you'll see in a while. So I'm excited about it.
Out this weekend, so you can go check that out.
I am going to go see it.
Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. This
Excellent.
weekend.
Well, a couple other things that are out, or at least one other thing. I think this is the
the polar opposite.
polar opposite. Yeah, and it is Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk.
Yes.
Which I'll admit I did not know a lot
interesting
about.
title.
I know that you've kind of done some research on this. This is a different kind of movie.
Yeah, so this one is from Ang Lee, who, as a lot of people remember, is the guy behind Life of Pi, which I believe won for Best Visual Effects and maybe even for Best Director.
It might have won.
As far as Oscars go, but a really great movie. Everybody loved it. He also did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He also did Brokeback Mountain. On the other end of the spectrum, he also did Hulk, the first Hulk.
The first one, that was the
which
one.
I kind of enjoyed, but it was very panned.
Edward Norton,
Yes.
right? That was, what's his name? Yeah.
It was
I
what's his name.
I forget his name, too. There we go. We're good with names on this show. But you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and so this is one of his, as far as the critics have said, a lot of critics anyway, this is maybe a miss from him. Cool premise. The idea is that we're watching a halftime show at a Thanksgiving Day NFL game, and the hero, this soldier, is being heralded as a hero. And in the middle of this halftime performance, we get flashbacks to what really happened. He was a Iraq war vet. It looks like a really interesting premise, but from all we've heard, the script doesn't really carry it very well.
Well, it's an interesting cast because you have
It really is.
Joe Alwyn, who I didn't know who he was necessarily.
He's kind of new on the scene, for sure.
Yeah, and he's the star, but then also you have Kristen Stewart, Chris Tucker, Vin Diesel, and Steve Martin.
Who I believe
is a
plays the
random
president.
group.
I'm pretty sure Steve Martin plays the president. At
Okay.
least that's what it looks like from the trailers.
All right. Yeah, from that premise, you'd almost think it would be a comedy, but does not sound like it is a comedy. So
I've seen some of the trailers, and I got to say, Vin Diesel I'm not buying what he's selling when he's.
He just needs to stick to triple X.
Just do action, man.
Triple X or
don't do drama.
Yeah, that's good enough right there. All right, so those are your two choices for new movies coming out this week.
There's other stuff, but those are kind of the big ones.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of people will be still seeing Doctor Strange.
Yes,
but Arrival sounds like that's the hit. And if you want something different, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk.
Yeah. I feel like the escapist movie this weekend is definitely Doctor Strange, but if you're looking for something that's going to take you a different place, I would say Arrival.
All right, we got a bunch of things still coming up.
Yes,
so as we said, let us know your comments if you have questions or anything to chime along. If you've seen some of these things, then let us know what you think. But let's go to a new trailer that has come out, also along the line of the space movie Renaissance. And
this kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even know this was around. I'd heard maybe some inklings that he was working on something. Luke Besson, who is the guy behind Fifth Element.
Yeah, The Fifth Element, one of my favorite movies of all time. Corbin Dallas. I love The Fifth Element.
It's really fun.
It's also one of the most quotable movies of all time.
And one of the weirdest sci-fi movies. I mean, even in that
So
genre.
strange.
Yeah. And so this is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. This is his new baby. And there are shades of Fifth Element rampant throughout this trailer as we look. It's just this expansive world building going on here. There's these amazing visuals, very colorful, very, just intriguing, flying, ships everywhere in the middle of the city, like you remember from Fifth Element, and then weirdo aliens everywhere. Very intriguing creatures. So we did a little research on this. Not a lot is known about this plot, but basically this is from a French novel. Like a 30-year running graphic novel. So there's a lot to pull from. And basically it's two government agents who are at a city council, I think, of a bunch of different planets. So all of these different planets have converged for this council meeting, and I guess something goes wrong.
Of course. Something always goes wrong.
Yeah, and they're, all of a sudden they're in the middle of some epic action.
So that is,
but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks
as
great.
far as the visuals
I mean,
go.
personally, since like I said, a huge fan of The Fifth Element, this is already. I will go see this in the theater the weekend it comes out. I guarantee it.
And aside from the two leads are young people. You probably haven't seen much of them. There's Dane DeHaan, I think, and he's from Chronicle, and then Cara Delevingne. and she's from Suicide Squad. She was in
Yeah,
Suicide
and
Squad.
I've seen her name in a few different things.
Yeah.
lately. I think she's kind of like a.
I think it's
gonna be coming
Delavine,
up.
actually.
Delavine, yeah. We'll leave the expert to.
And then they got
that.
and then they got also Clive Owen, Ethan Hawke, and John Goodman.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of aliens.
Sold.
Could be good.
That's all I need. John
Yeah.
Goodman and Aliens is enough for me.
Right?
I would be in just with that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that is coming out sometime next year. It sounds like.
Yeah.
I think 2017 is when we can
2017, I
probably
think so.
expect that. So Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, something coming out. Another trailer that came out for a movie that you will finally be able to see in just a little over a month.
Will we? It just seems like it's never going to get
It
here.
seems like it's never going to. It's Star Wars Rogue One with yet another new trailer that is out. This one's an international trailer
Right.
that showed up, and it's a lot of the same stuff we've seen so far, although a little bit more Darth Vader. There's a little more Darth Vader. It does seem
I would say like a smidge.
more of Darth Vader,
smidgen.
but it does hint that maybe Darth Vader will have more of a role in this new movie, because that's still
We
kind of
keep hoping that.
that's still kind of the question mark, is how much will he be in it.
Yeah.
It also hints that Ben Mendelsohn is going to be, he's kind of the main villain in all of these things, all of these trailers that we've been seeing. It looks like he does interact with Darth Vader a little bit more. It's hinting at that anyway. So I'm guessing there might be some really good scenes with the two of them.
And he's one of your favorites. So
He's
that,
one of my favorites.
That could be
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's great. If you've seen Bloodline, he's Danny from Bloodline. And a couple other things, some speculation that's coming out based on some of these new trailers. Just, we don't need to go too far into this. One thing is that it sounds like for this Star Wars movie, they're going to not use the scrawl that they use for the normal episodes. That's the rumors that are coming out.
Yeah, we've
Not
heard about that
100%
for a while.
confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just kind of, I do find that very interesting that they're going to drop that.
Well,
So,
because the reason they're dropping it for these movies is because they're not part of the
they're not the
center
episodes.
canon.
Yeah, but it's still
They're the
part
offshoots.
of it. But yeah, so you'll drop the scrawl, which will be interesting, and also speculation about whether Jyn Erso, based on the trailers, this goes really nerdy, has the Force or has some knowledge of the Force.
Yeah,
'cause
they
she has
keep
the
hinting at the
amulet
Force.
and some kind of crystal on her. So
And I was thinking about that when I watched this international trailer, because I think more of it comes out, and it's that one thing that Disney seems to have done is bring the Force way more prevalent. It's like everybody's got the Force. Like the Force is everywhere.
Force, you get the Force.
I mean,
you get the Force.
We're led to believe, like, by the time A New Hope comes out, that like people don't even believe it anymore. Like, it's just this ancient mythology. It's almost like,
Yeah.
a rogue religion, like the Druids or something. And then through Luke, it's reborn and
Yeah.
everything, and then he finds Yoda and everything, and then it slowly is coming back. But in this frame of time, it seems like it's a little bit more prevalent.
Everybody's got the
It's a
Force.
little bit more prevalent, yeah.
Well,
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. More information coming from that. All right, let's bounce on to some other kind of news that we have or rumors that we're hearing.
It's all about sci-fi this week.
It is sci-fi, sci-fi,
not
sci-fi.
much comic book. It's all sci-fi.
A little bit of comic.
Yeah.
But mostly sci-fi.
Yep.
And then a couple other things too. So I guess we're all over the board. All right, so this is Pacific Rim, the follow-up to Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim Maelstrom.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I just watched Pacific Rim again the other day. It was even better than I remembered it.
Really?
It's a fun movie.
Okay.
The acting isn't great. Some of the
that's kind of what I
characters
remember.
aren't all that well drawn, but the action between the Jaegers and the kaiju is just so epic.
Yeah.
The final fight scene, I forgot how long it was. It's like 15 minutes of just
It is a very long fight
amazing
scene.
robot and monster action, and we're hoping for the same. We've got John Boyega leading the team this time,
Okay,
and he
that's
will
good.
play the son of Stacker Pentecost, who is Idris Elba's character, who, in my opinion, was definitely by far the best part.
Idris Elba's awesome.
He's
in everything,
amazing,
yeah.
and that's the best part of the movie. So that's great. I love John Boyega, so that should be fun. We don't know what's going on. The weird thing about this is there have been rumors that the kaiju are not going to show up in this. So
Okay.
I don't know how you make a Pacific Rim movie without the kaiju, the monsters.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have to have something to show up.
what we did learn this week, that's not confirmed, but what we did learn is that cameras are rolling and the new title is confirmed, the Maelstrom title.
Okay.
And we do know also that Del Toro is out as the director. I think he's still on in a production role, but the new director, for those who don't know, is Stephen S. DeKnight, who is the showrunner for Daredevil and Spartacus.
All right.
Yeah, so this is kind of his big shot at a big budget
So we might get a
sci-fi movie.
Definitely dark.
Could be dark
Dark reimagining, yeah.
with the
Or not
Daredevil.
reimagining, but okay.
I mean, I guess the original one was pretty,
it's pretty dark too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope
Maybe
Charlie
more
Day
brooding.
I hope Charlie Day comes back.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was a really fun element.
Charlie Day is another one that's great in everything.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So that's kind of some of the news that we're hearing about Pacific Rim Maelstrom. We also have some more news about Deadpool.
Maybe it's just a really big storm, Maelstrom.
That's
Maybe
it.
they're
It's
just
a big storm.
It's a really bad
and they
storm.
all have to sit down and talk about each other's feelings, and that's what the whole movie is.
That sounds about right.
Oh man, we can't go outside, and they sit around a campfire. All right, so Pacific Rim Maelstrom. We'll find out more about that coming up. We've got more Deadpool news, and this is going even beyond.
Cart before the horse here.
Yeah.
Cart before the horse.
So we already know there's going to be a Deadpool 2.
Yes.
And that's going to be happening. Deadpool.
And that's due out in 2018.
Yeah, and so Deadpool 2 coming out in 2018. We're going even beyond that now
Why not?
with news and rumors about Deadpool 3 and where that may be heading.
Yeah.
And so I know that you've kind of done some research
Well,
on
this is just going deeper and deeper into the comic world.
And it's coming from Hollywood Reporter.
Hollywood Reporter, not confirmed by the studio yet, but couple of things. One thing is that the reports say that the studio wants to reset, as they put it, the X-Men universe.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense. It's kind of gotten sprawling. It's the timelines aren't adding up anymore. Logan is not going to add up timeline-wise with Days of Future Past. It's a lot of confusion going on. So maybe that's why. But the other big news that we've got is that they are supposedly going to debut the X-Force.
Okay. And that's
Which
a special unit of X-Men,
is a
correct?
sprawling line of mutant fighters. They were introduced in 91 in the New Mutant series.
I just want to say really quick, we are not, complete experts on every facet
God,
of every comic book ever.
not even close.
I'm sure somebody can educate us. Maybe you can post some links to some proper places for us to go to learn about X-Force.
But I was talking to one of my buddies last night who I like to, speak through about. He's a big comic guy, and he said that X-Force is laden with many different superheroes. In one timeline, it's Mystique and Rogue. In another, it's Wolverine. In another, it's Weapon X, which is Wolverine's clone daughter-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
So who the hell knows?
Who knows?
I mean, if Wolverine is going to be an X-Force, then that means they're going to have to reboot Wolverine as well.
Well, that may be.
I don't know who the hell they're going to get. So I would think that instead of trying to replace Hugh Jackman, as has been the way of Hollywood lately, putting more female, roles at the forefront, I think they might actually just introduce Weapon X, which is his clone.
Sense.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, you've already got Deadpool in there. Do you need Wolverine and Deadpool together?
Yeah, and I just think it's also going to be such a pain for them to try to replace Hugh Jackman, who is just so solidly
he is that character
built into the role. I mean, it's, as far as cinema goes, that's Wolverine.
Well, and I mean that's just like for Joker. For anybody trying to play Joker.
True.
Is still, and that's what one
Joker
movie
has been redone 3 times.
It has.
Wolverine has been the same guy for 17 years.
But I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker is the best. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a difficult role to follow up.
But yeah, I see where you're going, but I think it's even harder.
It's even
with
harder.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just the rumors and the reset button. Also has been rumored that Simon Kinberg is working on a movie script that will kick off the new set of films. And I guess that's about it. And we also don't know if James McAvoy or Michael Fassbender or Jennifer Lawrence will come back because their contracts were up with Apocalypse. So
that could be it.
X-Men universe is just sort of in free flow right now. I mean, the strongest part about that universe right now is Deadpool by far.
And Deadpool isn't even really in the cinematic universe. He's not even really connected.
Barely. He's a little connected.
But barely,
yeah.
I mean, with the rest of it. So,
yep.
All right. So there's some Deadpool.
So there's some Deadpool confusion for you.
Deadpool confusion. All right. Several things to get to, including the return of a series. We've got Stranger Things news. We've got some casting news. But let's get to our reboot recap, which is a frequent, pretty much a weekly
it has become that, yeah.
Because that's what everybody's doing. So if it's not a comic book movie or a space movie, it's a reboot.
Yep.
And this is one that I'm kind of confused as far as why it needs a reboot. But it is American Werewolf.
Because everything needs a reboot.
Does. I guess I say that all the time, too. You could probably take clips of me saying that. Why are they doing this? American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Classic movie. I mean, it's a good, it's campy B movie.
It's also different than a lot of monster movies. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of monster. When you do, it's quite epic. But
yeah, and it's very dramatic when he turns into a werewolf. If you're watching right
it's
now,
the
you
big
can see
scene.
the trailer. It's
He's not having a good time.
He is not enjoying turning into a werewolf.
It doesn't look fun.
So, American Werewolf in London, and then they even did a follow-up, I believe, several years later, maybe even a decade later, which was American Werewolf in Paris.
It was 20 to 30
years, maybe
later.
it's longer than that, yeah.
So what we know so far about the London thing is just rumors, but the rumor is that Max Landis, son of John Landis, the original director, is working on it, and he supposedly tweeted as much and then deleted it.
Okay.
Basically said, well, I'm already working on something that my dad did or something. Basically
So that's where this is
alluding
coming
to
from.
that this is happening. But I think it's fairly safe to say that this is probably a project that's going to go forward. But yeah, so Max Landis has kind of built his own right. He's directed one major film called Me, Him, Her, and that came out in 2015. But he also wrote the script for Chronicle, which I really enjoy that movie. That's the found footage movie about all those kids that get superpowers.
I don't think I've seen this.
If you haven't seen Chronicle, it's really fun. It's like vicarious living. It's like it feels like exactly what you think it would feel like if all of a sudden you had superpowers and you could fly.
And it's a found footage?
It's a found footage style film.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I need to check that
Chronicle
out.
is very underrated. It's actually one of my. I like that a lot. It's like probably one of my cult classic sci-fi
Impromptu
films.
Between the Cracks right here?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Chronicle?
There you go.
All right. So it's just called Chronicle.
Chronicle.
All
yeah.
right. Do you know if it's on Netflix or anything?
I haven't seen. I haven't
idea.
seen it streaming anywhere. You probably have to buy it, but I believe it's a Bad Robot production. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Chronicle.
I could be wrong on
sounds
that.
Good.
I might just be guessing that, but
Yeah, whatever.
yeah. But it's
Works
a good
for me.
film. So that's where Max Landis comes from. But yeah, according to Deadline, Walking Dead producers David Albert and Robert Kirkman are developing the remake, and Max is going to write and direct it. And John Landis, the original, is going to come on as an executive producer.
Okay.
So those are, if you hate reboots in general, you're probably going to hate this no matter what. But those are sort of, that's
This is what's going to be happening.
that gives you a little bit of a better feel if you know that all the people behind the original are having some sort of, take, some sort of stake in the new movie, I should say.
All right.
Yeah, looks interesting.
Well, so there's one. We also get a not a reboot, but a spin-off from Big Bang Theory.
Oh, no.
Of all shows, Big Bang Theory. I mean, it's one of the most popular sitcoms of all time.
Puzzlingly.
Oh, you are not a Big Bang Theory person.
I am not a big, multicam sitcom person. I feel like that whole thing should be gone, but somehow CBS is making money hand over fist with that style.
You don't own a 2.5 Men collector's edition set or anything?
I've watched some 2.5 Men. It's the
According to
lowest.
Jim.
It's the lowest common denominator humor.
Well, Big
It
Bang
will make you chuckle, but you'll feel bad about it later.
You'll be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Well, Big Bang Theory rumored now to get a spin-off of Sheldon as
Called Sheldon.
Yeah. Where he, played by Jim Parsons as a child.
Yeah.
So it'd be like his.
This will be somebody else. It'll be a 12-year-old version of him.
I could see it. I could see them doing it though, where Jim Parsons introduces it. Like, I remember the time when I was blah blah blah.
Yeah, that could be.
And then they, do the flashback.
Yeah, like the How I Met Your Mother thing or something.
Kind of.
Yeah,
Something
I can see
along
that.
those lines.
Well, and so I guess they've written a pretty big backstory, pretty interesting backstory for this guy. As for those who don't know, like Jim Parsons' character is, somewhat autistic, I guess, very weird and like a genius.
Yeah.
And he comes from like a very humble background. So, and the idea is it's going to be a single camera comedy, sort of like Malcolm in the Middle, they said.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Big Bang Theory has a huge following. In particular,
How huge? It gets 18 million viewers.
Yeah. Well, and Jim Parsons
that's
wins
crazy
Emmy
these
after
days.
Emmy after Emmy.
Yeah,
for
he
his
wins
role.
Emmys.
I don't even know how many Emmys he's had. It just seems like every year it just is Jim Parsons win the Emmy. And he is really good at that character. I'm not a Big Bang Theory person either.
Big Bang?
Big Bang Theory. But Jim Parsons is a great actor, but this wouldn't really be him. This is just that character. So whether someone else can carry that character, I don't know. I'm curious what people think out there because I know there's a lot of Big Bang Theory watchers, as we just said.
Yeah, somewhere.
So would you be interested in a Sheldon origin series, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah, and the other idea is that they're going to carry this out possibly while the Big Bang Theory is still going. And it might even be on the same night.
Wow.
They would put it on
Sheldon
a Thursday
and then
night.
into Big Bang Theory or something or vice versa.
That
All right.
seems to be the idea right now, although that's Deadline has reported that. We don't know that
So
for sure.
possibly a pilot order to join it next season.
Exactly.
So this could be coming pretty soon.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Let's bounce ahead here. Do you want to
do the Rami Malek thing?
Yeah, I want to do that.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So Rami Malek, Mr. Robot, which I'm going to admit, and I'm kind of ashamed, I have not watched.
Oh boy, yeah, you've got some fun ahead.
Yeah, I know. And
I've only seen the first season because you can get it on Amazon.
Oh, really?
So really, if you have Amazon, there's no reason not to jump in, and it's really a fun show. I mean, well, fun is one way to put it. It's fairly dark, but it's really well done.
And the rumor right now is that not rumor. I guess I take that back.
No, this is
not
the deal.
a rumor. This is confirmed.
This is the deal.
The Freddie Mercury movie, which is a biopic or a biopic?
It's a biopic.
It's a biopic. Okay, you're saying it's a biopic.
Our producer would disagree.
Rich says no. We're deleting it. All right, so the Freddie Mercury movie has been rumored for a long time. This has been years and years and
Sacha
years.
Baron Cohen was attached at one point, and then he
Sacha
fell out of it.
I still think Sacha Baron Cohen would make a great Freddie Mercury.
It's an interesting choice because he looks a lot like him.
He looks, yeah.
And he's a very expressive actor, but he's never done anything quite like it.
He is really get into a character.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's
out. So
he's out.
So say goodbye to that idea.
So Rami Malek from Mr. Robot,
yeah,
is going to be the new Freddie Mercury,
who I think is one of the best new actors working. He's great.
He's
amazing in Mr. Robot.
And if you take a look at the picture, I mean, we've got a picture that's posted up if you're listening on or watching on the YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, you can find it on the site at digitaltrends.com. But it's Rami and Freddie Mercury side by side. I can see where they could make him look like him.
Yeah, strap a mustache on there. He'll be all right.
Put on a mustache, give him some choppers, and yeah, you're in.
Yep.
But I don't know whether he can sing. So obviously,
that's a huge question. I have no idea. But I mean,
and there's so few people that would be able to do that.
No one in the world can sing like Freddie Mercury.
No, the closest is what's his name, who tours with Queen now.
Have you ever seen somebody try to put Bohemian Rhapsody on in karaoke?
Oh, it's horrible.
It is a total.
No,
it's a total wreck.
Queen should be banned from any kind of karaoke ever because no one.
Well, you don't see
can
it often.
even come close.
Yeah, you don't see it.
No, that's just embarrassing.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say whether he can do the musical side, but as we said, almost no one can. But the movie seems like it's going to be really interesting. It's going to start all the way from the beginning of Queen and even Freddie Mercury's early days before that, all the way up to 1991 when he unfortunately passed away of complications from AIDS at the age of 45. Another interesting thing about it is Bryan Singer is in talks to direct, who is the man behind many of the X-Men films.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an odd choice, but the guy knows how to make a movie.
Maybe he's a big
Freddie
Mercury
he
fan.
must be a huge fan. But yeah, the movie is going to be called Bohemian Rhapsody, as you might have guessed. And
the Freddie Mercury story is one that needs to be told. If you've never read up on him, if you're not a Queen fan, he's an incredible person.
Such an interesting dude, and
such a unique. There is no one that will ever exist that was like Freddie Mercury.
No, he's a magical man. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so definitely deserving of a movie. Well, Rami Malek's a great actor, so hopefully he will portray him correctly. That's a lot of pressure on him, by the way, too.
I'm sure he's stoked.
Can't mess that up.
I'm sure he's stoked because
don't mess it up.
That's a quick jump from
Mr. Robot,
a sort of cult TV show to where it's very critically to
where you could be talking
lauded,
about an Oscar if you do it well enough.
Absolutely, you never know.
So, all right, well, good for him. Congratulations. It seems like he's a guy who deserves it. All right, last couple of things here that we need to get to. One is this. It is the return of a series that we never really knew if it was going to come back or not. There were always rumors.
And it's something we all need right now.
We do need it so badly.
A little bit of comedy.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Very excited.
So Curb Your Enthusiasm, if you've never seen it, Larry David, creator of Seinfeld, it's kind of a mockumentary show. Not a mockumentary.
Yeah, that works.
But it's not filmed as a documentary. It's
the first episode actually kind of was.
That's true. Yeah, it was.
And then they just kind of rolled into it.
But it rolled into 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Where it's Larry David playing himself, who's just a terrible person. He is the worst person.
As he puts it, it's about 30% of himself.
Yeah.
He's not nearly as bad as this guy.
If you ever watch Seinfeld, you can see there's a lot of Larry David in George, the character George.
Yes.
He plays George times 1,000. He's just a jerk. And it's so great.
Well, I also think that he's always in this show a product of very strange, extenuating circumstances, some of which are brought on by him.
Yeah, some are brought on to him. Some of them are like legitimate things.
Terrible.
When I watch that show, like there's one episode, and I'm not going to go into this too far, but there's an episode where it's just him waiting in line to buy ice cream, and there's a woman who wants to sample every single one. And that's true. Like
I would do that.
That would drive me insane.
Exactly.
Like,
I would be him though.
Yeah,
I would
you
be
get 2
commenting
samples,
on that.
make your decision, and get out of the way.
Or what about when he brings the guy, the exterminator, to do the musical.
Yes.
That's not his fault.
No,
I don't
it's
want to
not.
give it away, but it's
All
a
right.
horrifying event.
Anyway, Curb Your Enthusiasm. We could do this all day.
We could.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Watch it if you've never watched
It
it.
is
It's
filming.
true.
It started filming in November 9th, and it's expected to air sometime in 2017 on HBO. You can catch up on all of it, 1 through 8 on HBO now.
Yeah. So filming now, season 9. Hope to be next year. Everybody's returning.
Yeah, the gang's
sounds
coming
like
back.
The whole gang's coming back for it.
Richard Lewis, Ted Danson is supposed to be involved. Like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. Curb Your Enthusiasm. And finally, we have an update on Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So if you don't follow it on digitaltrends.com, we've got a whole section just devoted to Stranger Things, kind of what we find out as we find out, and you can check it all out right there.
Yeah,
And this
about the
is
second
newest.
season.
Yeah, about the second season. And this is the newest thing. And we've got some casting news and bringing in a little more star power.
Definitely. I would say in this case a lot more star power
Yeah.
because of how little they had. I mean, it was almost all new actors or veterans that hadn't
hadn't
gotten
seen
a
for
lot
a
of
while.
play. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, now it has been confirmed that Sean Astin, 80s movie giant, he's done a lot more than that, of course.
AKA Samwise Gamgee.
Samwise Gamgee, and also, I mean, just the Goonies and everything that guy's done.
Yeah.
So Sean
Rudy.
Astin, Rudy, is going to be cast in the second season. He is cast, and it's going to be a character named Bob Newby, described as a kind-hearted former nerd who went to high school with Joyce, who's Winona Ryder, and David Harbour. So, and now manages the local Hawkins Radio Shack. So he manages a Radio Shack.
Oh no.
Yep.
Okay, well yeah, Radio Shack was still a thing back then.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean, you got to.
That
I mean,
was the thing.
They're really going into.
I remember going to hang out at Radio Shack back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know, that was about all we had. We didn't have Best Buy.
No.
Around my time.
Go down to the Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Buy a battery. So Sean Astin joining, and then also will be Paul Reiser.
Who I think is really underestimated at how funny he is. For those who
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen it, in fact, here's a between the cracks for you if you haven't seen it. Maybe we've already said it, but Red Oaks on Amazon is just
said it.
great. It's really funny. It's basically you take Caddyshack and make it into a TV show, and there you have it. And Paul Reiser plays this just total jerk, like rich guy, but also with a heart and funny. I think
that's great.
I think he's brilliant in it, and so I love to see him getting work because I think he's a really funny guy, and it'll be interesting to see him do, a more straight role.
Well, and it's
here.
possible, like, he's going to be playing a character called Dr. Owens, a high-ranking member within the Department of Energy, on a cleanup assignment tasked with containing the events of last year.
Interesting.
So maybe
Well,
the
he
bad
is-
guy.
I'll just say in Red Oaks, he is just great at being a dick. So it should be interesting to see him do it here.
I've met him one time. He is the nicest guy ever. He is such a good dude.
That is so good to hear.
Yeah, he is. He's great. He's awesome guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Paul Reiser joining the cast of Stranger Things 2. So there we go. As we find out more and more about that, I think that's probably about it for this week.
That should do it.
Wrapping it up. Thank you everyone for tuning into Between the Streams. We really do appreciate it. Everybody's
How's
watching.
How's that beer going?
I'm almost there. I will
right.
finish it before we end
All right.
this show. If you're listening via podcast, we do have the YouTube stream that you can always tune into. We do this show live every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific time at digitaltrends.com or on DT's YouTube page. You can find it there. Watch past episodes. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us that the 5 stars.
Yeah.
If that's the max.
The fiver.
If it's 10, give us 10, but it's 5. 5, give us 5. And yeah, we really do appreciate it. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And as usual, we'll be back next week with another episode. And I'm going to finish this beer right now.
Go see a movie. Enjoy yourselves.
Okay, there it is. It is warm.